In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your AC condenser on this Chevy Silverado 2500. Just so you know, for this procedure, you do need to evacuate your AC refrigerant professionally. You cannot have any refrigerant left in the system when we open up these lines. We've already done that, so let's install this brand new TRQ condenser. To start, we have to remove this plastic cover here. It's just held on with a lot of push clips, so let's get all of those out so we can pull the cover off. This is what they look like. You can stick a trim tool in here, pop the center up, and then remove the rest of the push clip. Just go around and take out all of them. Now remove this. Now there are 4 10mm bolts that go along the top. Let's remove all 4. There's 1 in each corner. And 2 in the middle, right beside the hood latch. Now the top of the grill should want to move out a little bit. Behind the grill, you'll see some retainers that look like this. You can grab pliers and reach behind here, pinch it right in the center. As you pinch it, slide the grill out, just like that. There's one on the other side of the hood latch support as well. It goes right through here. Pop that one out the same exact way. And if you look down, you'll see more of those retainers. There are 2 in the middle, right below the ones we just popped out. And then there are 2 on the sides, 1 on each corner. Let's get all 4 out and the grill should pop off. Oh, 4th one is actually broken for me. Now with the grill off, we have access to everything in the front here, which we have to remove. The AC condenser will come out through the front. So let's remove the 3 10mm headed bolts that hold the hood latch on. Okay, that also unbolts this piece. Now you can pull the hood latch off. At the bottom, you'll see 2 mounting nuts. 10mm socket on both of these. Pull this bracket away. Pull the hood latch cable out of this retainer, and then squeeze from the backside onto the 2 little tabs that lock this retainer in, so you can remove it from this bracket, set it aside. Follow this wire down and disconnect it off of these retainers just to give ourselves some more space to work with. Try not to break them. They do break easily. They get very brittle over time. If you do break them, you could just wire tie the wire onto the bracket when the time comes to reinstall. There we go. Behind this bracket here, there are 2 10mm headed bolts. Let's remove both of them. If you have a ratcheting wrench, that would be the best tool to stick back here. If not, a regular wrench will do also. Once you break them free, hopefully you can take them out by hand. If they're rusty, you'll have to wrench them the rest of the way. There's the second one. Now let's remove the 2 10mm headed bolts that are on each side of the bottom part of that cross member slash bracket that we just unbolted from the top. Remove both bolts. Make sure this moves. It does, so let's do the same on the other side. Once you've removed the 2 bottom bolts on the other side, you have 1 bracket here with a 10mm bolt going through it. We have to pull this off as well. At the top, we have 2 10mm headed bolts. Let's remove them. This is 1 over here. Now we can remove this piece. Set that aside. You don't have to disconnect any lines off of this cooler. And on the other side, same looking 10mm bolt. I'm going to remove this air deflector here. You don't necessarily have to, but I believe it'll make things a lot easier. Remove this push clip that's here at the top. If it wants to stay inside the plastic piece here, that's fine. But now you can pull this away and we have much better access to the two fasteners that hold these lines onto the AC condenser. Take a 13mm wrench or socket if you can fit one in here and remove the mounting nut that holds the line on. These should not be extremely tight. You might hear some hissing like this as you remove this. That is normal. It is not pressure, it's actually a vacuum, because when the machine pulls the refrigerant out, it actually pulls a vacuum at the end, so this is normal. Now you can pull this line off, set it aside. Make sure you don't get any debris inside of this line here. Do the same to the lower line, also 13mm mounting nut. Remove that and pull the line off. This one is a little crustier here. It's corroded, it's stuck, so I'm gonna take a little screwdriver, try to pry it down here. Try not to gouge the line too much. If you damage the AC condenser, that's okay, because that's what we're replacing. But the line is not being replaced. There we go. Now it's separated. That was really corroded up here on the stud. That's what was holding us up. This is removed. This line won't go very far. It's not on a hose, unlike the top line, but we can leave it here for now. At this point, we have to just maneuver the bracket out of the way and the AC condenser in such a way that it'll let this come out. Basically, you want to pull the AC condenser up and off of the bottom here so that you can pull this bracket forward. Then you can push the AC condenser down to clear the top and then slide it out. Be careful of your radiator. You don't want to damage that in the process. There it is. Let's install new studs that should come with the AC condenser. I put a little bit of anti-seize on this one, just so it doesn't get stuck there in the future if it needs to be serviced and removed. Use a 5mm socket and snug this up just a little bit, at most a quarter of a turn after it bottoms out. That's all you need. This is aluminum. You will strip it out if you over tighten it. And really what makes it tight in the end is when you clamp on the nut, it wants to pull the whole stud, and that's going to tighten both ends of the stud. I'm going to wipe off any extra anti-seize that I have here. And now let's do the same to the other stud. Now to install the new AC condenser, very carefully slide it down. I'm going to temporarily slide it into position here, but I actually have to go slightly past it in order to clear the top of this bracket here. Now pull it back up. I'm very careful not to damage the fins on the new AC condenser or the radiator. And now I'm just going to line up the bushings at the top here, the mounting points, as well as the bottom where it sits on these rubber pads. All right. This is all lined up. I'm going to wait to bolt it in. Let's put the lines in first so that we can make sure everything is lined up properly. Let's pull these plugs out and put the line in. Inspect your gasket. Mine is still good. If you want to replace it, now is the time. And if it is not in great condition, I highly recommend replacing it. Might have to move this around a little bit to get the line put in the fitting on the AC condenser there. And then if you have to, you can gently use the nut to drive this in, but if it gets really tight and stops, don't force it or you will break or bend something here. I'm just using this to gently drive it in. It's working, it's smooth. I'm just going to go all the way. Okay, that's bottomed out. I'm going to snug it up a little. We will come back and torque these, but let's do the bottom first. I have the line lined up on the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing, put the nut on, and tighten it up. Make sure it all goes in smooth. All right, let's torque them. 12 foot-pounds is the torque for these. Pretty much already there. If you don't have the ability to torque these, just snug them up by hand with a wrench. On this one, I can't get my torque wrench in here just because the line is a lot closer. So I'm just going to take my wrench, make it nice and snug by hand. About an eighth, between an eighth and a quarter of a turn after it bottoms out is plenty. Air deflector back on. Make sure you route it the same way it was before, kind of behind the headlight like this, and then up and over this bracket. Put that push clip back through. There we go. Put in this bolt, snug it up. On the other side, make sure you put this bracket for the cooler back through, and tighten this up as well. That's snug. Resecure the bottom. Start that bolt in, and let's snug it up. Nice and tight. Now let's reinstall the bolts on the bottom here. Line them up, start them by hand so they don't cross thread. Snug them up. And do the same to the other side. Back at the top, let's install the 2 mounting bolts that go through both of these brackets and clamp them together. They go in from the back side, so it's a little bit challenging to get them started. Once you thread on the first one, it should be mostly lined up. I'm not going to tighten this one until the second one is started, so I can make sure I can still move this around. There we go, this is starting on smoothly. So let's start on the second one. Alright, I got both started. Now let's tighten them both up. Once you have them bottomed out by hand, put a wrench on it, tighten them up. Make them nice and snug. That's good. And the other one. All right. The torque for these two is also 12 foot-pounds, but there's absolutely no way I can get a torque wrench in there, so I'm just going to make them nice and tight with my wrench. The torque on all 4 of these is 12 foot-pounds. If you are unable to torque these, just make them nice and snug by hand. Let's reroute the wiring harness for the hood latch, if your truck has it. Clip it back in. Hopefully your retainers are still usable. Sometimes, like I said earlier, these break. And now I'm going to clip this in here with this in here, but I'm not going to bolt it on yet because that other bracket goes on top and then the hood latch. Just like this. And now this bracket will have 2 little pins. That's how you line up the hood latch. And then you're going to want to put the bolts in. I'm going to start them in. I'm not going to tighten them yet, so I can tighten the bottom, but everything should be lined up before you tighten anything. Try to line everything up the same way it was before so that the hood latch can line up with the hood. Once one is on, you should be able to let go and it won't fall off. I'm going to start all 3 of these bolts, and then I'll start the 2 mounting nuts on the bottom, and then we'll tighten everything. I'm going to line up the bottom first because I can see the marks on the rusty part of this bracket here, so I can get it very close to how it was, as well as on the mounting nuts. Get these close, snug them. Okay, now let's do the top. I can see marks on the hood latch, so I'm going to line those up as well. Perfect, that all lines up, it's all nice and snug. Now take the grill, line it up with all of the tabs, or all the holes where the tabs need to click into. And once you line it up, it should all snap into place and lock in. Just press it. There we go. All right, that's locked in. Let's put the bolts up top. Let's get all these bolts back in. press the grill in so it can line up to where it was before. And last one. Let's reinstall this top cover here. Just start on one side, work your way to the other, and install all of the push clips that hold this on. If some are missing, replace them. There you go. At this point, you want to get your AC system professionally recharged so that the perfect amount of refrigerant is in the system. Otherwise, it will not function and you could even cause damage. Having said that, job is done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.